Hi, everybody. This is Ron McKinney with Potty Do Photo, and we're here to do our webinar today with our jury for our 2021 photo competition that just ended. And, so we have with us today Lloyd Knight, Jackie Green, Lois Greenfield, Max Sirota, and Andrew Eccles. What we're going to do is they're going to just talk a little bit. Each of them are going to talk at first, just talk about their experience of doing this. What I am going to ask that you guys do who are here on this is, first of all, switch your chat so it says all panelists and attendance so everybody can see anything that you post. And then if you have any questions, go ahead and put that in the chat, not in the Q&A. Everybody can see that. So with that said, let's open up with Andrew Eccles and have him just introduce himself and talk a little bit about this.
Hi, everyone. I'm Andrew Eccles. I am a entertainment portrait photographer for the most part, but I also photograph a lot of dance. So I suppose I consider myself a dance photographer as well. And primarily known for my work with the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. I've worked with them for between 25 and 30 years now, doing photography for them. And I was thrilled to be asked to be on this jury. So Ron, thanks a lot for inviting me. And first of all, I just want to say thank you and congratulations to everybody who submitted work. It was really, it was really a really impressive body of work, and it made me feel pleased for both photography and for dance. You know, the performing arts are often overlooked in our culture, and it was really exciting to see so much creativity at such a high level. So, first and foremost, I was just very excited to see so much terrific photography. But just to sort of to introduce the way that I went about this process, and then I'll pass it over to my colleagues, is, when you jury or you're on this kind of a panel and you're looking at photography, I think first and foremost, there's a wow factor. Like, am I wowed by this image? Does the overall visual of this please me? Is it beautiful? And then because it's about dance photography, then I think you have to sort of drill a little deeper and sort of go to the next levels and layers. So what I tend to ask myself is, after I like this photograph, I find it beautiful, then I start to look at the dance pose and dancer, and then I become, I think, somewhat critical about that part of the picture. Do I feel that technically the pose and the dance within that image is strong? The dancers here will speak more to the actual correctness of a particular dance pose. I think Lois would know more than I do about that as well. But so I'm sort of drawn to that, and then I'll look at the photographic technique and the lighting and the exposure, obviously the location, if it's a studio, technically, the sophistication of the image. But then the other thing that I really, really looked at a lot, which was sometimes a make or break element for me, was the dancer's expression. That was something, with all the years of work I've done with the Ailey Company, the creative directors were always looking for that expression, whatever it might be, was really, really vital. So everything could be right, but if the expression was kind of not as committed, say, as the entire image was, that would be sort of a demerit for me. So if any one of those areas that I mentioned was a little on the weak side, that might sort of bring my vote down a bit. But, the images that had sort of all of those different things going for them, those ones rose to the top for me. So that was sort of my process. And with that, I will pass it to one of my colleagues, Ron.
Okay, Jackie, can you take it from there?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Green. I'm a dancer for the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, and I have worked with Andrew Eccles for years. um, Congratulations for submitting your photos and choosing dance photography. It feels like you kind of have to be an expert at both in both industries. And the way I approached judging the photos from a dancer's perspective who has also worked with a lot of dance photographers was, would I, based on the photograph, would I want to work with this photographer as a dancer? Would I trust their eye as a dancer to capture me? And that can look several different ways, like photographers knowing, and Andrew, you've done this a couple times, like, I don't know if you're going to be happy with the way this turned out, try it one more time. Just having the eye as far as like the dance aesthetic and lines and expression. Of course, the wow factor is great, but what takes it to another level is like all those other details that just makes it fine, like makes it crisp and clean. And in a way that both the photographer and the dancer will be happy, because the photographer might think it's wonderful, but then if they don't have that dancer eye, the dancer will be like, oh no, I can't post that, or I don't want to use that because this is missing, or my foot wasn't here, or that. And it's just having like a little knowledge on both ends. So congratulations for entering in this. I think this panel is really great to hear from both sides. Not only was I happy to share my insight, but I was very happy to learn from my colleagues about different things in photography and like things I probably wouldn't have thought of that would make me a better dancer for a photo shoot. So yes, welcome.
Okay, thank you, Jackie. Max.
Oh, hi. So my name is Max Sirota. It's a pleasure to be here tonight and also, in this whole process on the judge panel. So I'm from B&H. My history with photography is I've been a photographer for more than 20 years. Studied it in college, and my real photo of school was at B&H because I'm talking about photography all day, the technical, the creative, and whether it's selling a battery to somebody at the superstore or selling them a full kit, you're just talking about it all the time. So it was really great to be in the superstore. I joined the marketing team in 2019, and that means I get to do fun events like this. I came to Arizona last year, and that's when I got to know Ron and the whole community at Pas de Deux, and it's just been really a pleasure to be involved, and so glad to be invited. Yeah, so my approach, I was kind of the wild card maybe, because I don't know much about dance. I do know about photography, so I don't know, if the foot is supposed to be flexed or if it's supposed to be loose, or I don't know I don't know what any of these moves are. I just know what looks good and what doesn't, to me. So I was just coming from my own personal experience, and mostly as a photographer. So I was looking for good lighting, good composition, like all the elements of photography. Of course, good gesture. It's all about movement with a dance photography. So yeah, so it was fun to do this whole evaluation series about kind of, okay, like I'm gonna take away those, and then I'm gonna really sort through it, and then okay, put those into that category. And I know we all had our own separate ways of judging, and then once we all got together, it was a fun session. It lasted a little bit longer than we planned, but it was like very, I don't know, it was special to me, like just to kind of hear all these different perspectives and to kind of fight for what I really believed in, but then kind of also sit back on some things. And really, it was kind of a journey to get to the winners in every category, as well as the grand prize. So, and it was just a cool conversation just to hear different perspectives and to voice my own perspective and see where we got. So I'm very pleased with what we arrived at, and you all should be pleased too. Whether you got 1 through 15 or whatever, this is a really fun event, and I'm just very grateful to be here with these superstars.
All right, thanks, Max. Lois, go ahead.
Hi, well, I'm like Andrew, dance photographer, among other things. I've been doing it the longest, I would say, for all of us here. I started in the 70s, actually, working for newspapers, magazines, hooked up with the Village Voice for 20 years. And not having come from the dance world, I learned a lot working for the Village Voice, which privileged, of course, postmodern dance, more than ballet, but I had my full share of everyone. I shot Alvin Ailey, I shot Judith Jamison, I shot Baryshnikov, you know, mainly at first on stage, which was fine. I mean, it was journalism. But then I really just wanted to be my own sculptor, sculptor, and in a sense, see them, the dancers, as sculptors. And so the Voice let me bring dancers into what was my studio. And we basically just experimented, and they allowed me to work in my own style, which was not the classic style. And I think to this day, although I do shoot, I have shot 1 million dance companies all over the world, and I know how to do it, more or less. I'm still more involved in the personal expression of the dancer rather than the perfect choreographed position. So choreography for me, and I'm probably gonna get everyone all upset, you know, obviously in live action, it's wonderful, but I'm not into the static moments, so I'm not into the perfect arabesque or anything like that. Of course, I do it for my clients and everything, but I'm looking for the unique expression of that dancer, liberated from the confines of choreography and what has to be done on the stage. I want them to bring out their own unique individuality, or whatever you want to call it, because I mean, again, not being from the dance world, but knowing about dance, and even having danced myself, but not professionally, it's kind of can be a cookie cutter thing, and there's a perfection involved. That's a very static thing. And I'm looking for the kinetic energy. I'm looking for the feeling, the emotion, and all kinds of improvisational things. I really just want what's coming from the dancer. So I think I'm just repeating myself a few times, and I apologize for that. So I just have to be honest about where I'm coming from. And the other people, you know, are looking at more literal dance positions, moments, whatever. And I'm really just looking for feelings. And I'm looking, okay, so I'm not being an audience, but being a dance photographer, looking at pictures of dance. I'm looking for that exciting moment. I'm not looking for perfection, and I'm looking for something unusual, something unique, something that has feeling. And unfortunately, we're all taught in all our disciplines to replicate a certain style, right? Whether it's script or cursive or what we do in art and how things are supposed to be. And I'm looking for more a unique expression and a freedom. Okay, so I'm probably really repeating myself. That being said, I love seeing everything. I love the diversity. I privilege those pictures, and those were the ones I think we all had the most fun commenting on and trying to figure out if that was really a winner versus not. And so we all really learned from each other, because we did come with slightly different points of view. And I guess just to repeat this, I was looking for something from the heart, that it came from the heart. It wasn't just a frozen moment, and something that was unusual versus something that was something we always expect to see. But I do congratulate everyone, because, you know, all the people that got in the final shots, and this is all to the photographer's credit, we could spend an hour, you know, negotiating the pros and cons of different things and how we were going to compare it vis-a-vis the other equally excellent pictures. So I do have to really congratulate you all. It was really a remarkable panoply of very interesting dance photographs. And thank you, Ron, for inviting me.
You're so welcome. Thank you. But I want to clarify one thing, because Andrew also talked about expression, but he was really talking about the facial expression and that part of it. When you were talking about expression, I think you were talking more about the dancer's form. Is that correct?
No, I mean, it might have been about gesture and about purpose, and so it wasn't just a position, but there was something which I would also direct in my own, you know, personal work with them, that they would be some I don't know how to put it now. But anyway, something happening in the brain, you know, like it's not just a position with the perfect bun and the perfect this and all this, even in, you know, postmodern dance and all, but there was some inner motivation that the dancer conveyed. There was, and often it was, again, because I wasn't really concentrating on ballet, which seemed to be more what we were focusing, you know, more what the submissions were, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. And Lloyd.
Hi, everyone. My name's Lloyd Knight, and I dance for the Martha Graham Dance Company. And it was really an awesome experience to be a part of this. Thank you, Ron. I said to everybody I would never do another photo shoot the same again, like, because I learned so much and I just took in so much information. It was amazing, but I found it very. It was very interesting just to. I almost forgot, and I apologize, of how many different categories in photography there was. So that kind of like blew my mind. Once I saw all the categories, I was like, oh my God, wow, it's just, there's so many layers to it and the approach. So going in, of course, the dancer side of me, you know, I'm looking at the dancers and the physicality and whatnot. Also the expression, but trying to really dive into each category and see what makes that particular photo special. So that was really a good challenge for me and very rewarding. And of course, once we got in and battled for who was going to get what, really listening to everybody's opinions. And I mean, you have legends on this panel, so just hearing their expertise, it really, I really learned a lot. And yeah, I'm gonna repeat, but it was a really great experience, and I took in a lot, and I'm really happy for all of you that have been a part of this, especially during this time. So thank you.
Okay, that's awesome. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and start just like showing some of the images, especially we're going to focus on, you know, the ones that won, and we want to just talk about what the difference was, you know, that made these, you know, stand out. And we'll kind of like look at maybe the top 5 or so of each category. For those of you who are attending this, you know, feel free to put in some questions in the chat, and, you know, we'll definitely get to them, you know, as we can. So I am going to jump over to sharing my screen, and this should be here. Let me see. Sorry, I thought I had this set up, but oh, I see what I did. Okay. Bear with me for just a second. Let me get out of this part here. Okay. Okay, we're gonna go, I'm gonna just start with fine arts. Oops. I know you don't see it yet. I had to put it up there so I could see it. There we go. Okay, and so, you know, here is Ed Flores's picture. This is the winner, you know, for the fine arts category. And what'd you guys think of this?
I'll happy to jump in. I think we were really unanimous about all loving this. I think it was, if not it was certainly one of my favorite images in the entire competition. You know, it's so sophisticated, so unique, so unusual. It's nearly a fashion photograph. It's still a dance picture. It's just great. I love the lighting. I love the color palette. The pose is remarkable. The shadow. this one rose to the top quickly. You know, and just for you folks at home, so you know how Ron presented the images to us. He presented all of us with a gallery of, I forget what you narrowed it down to at the beginning for us, Ron, but we saw a bulk of images in each category, and we voted on them. So we looked at them alone first, and we made decisions, and we sort of graded them, as it were, on our own. And then we got together for what ended up being a 5.5 hour Zoom call, where we talked about what we liked more than others, and we sort of volleyed them up or down in the rankings, and you know, and it never got contentious, but it definitely got almost possessive and competitive about certain images. But this was one when I was on my own, where I actually did a screenshot of it and I kept it on my desktop for a week because I thought it was so magnificent. I think this is an absolutely terrific photograph. So congratulations, well deserved. I'll pass.
I love this image. Fine art, like the dancer, the lighting, the simplicity, even down to like the clothing, the shoes, the leotard, the hat, the expression. You see the dancer's face. They're in a fabulous position. Like it made us all wonder, how was it shot? And I think that was to some of the like amazement of it. It was like, how did this happen? And we all had ideas around it. But it even made me as a dancer want to try it, because it's like, it is gorgeous. Like I would see this and want to purchase this for like on my wall. So yeah, this was high flying colors for us. Congrats.
Yeah, I think there were a couple of moments where actually we were just left speechless. And you saw a lot of heads just like flipping to really figure out like how exactly it happened. But yeah, it's spectacular. I love it.
I had to be convinced. I really wasn't on board 100%, and then I think, did I decide that it was like a switched picture? That was it shot vertically?
You had thought that, and I actually contacted Ed,
Is it
while we
true?
were doing this, and he confirmed no. She just came up off the ground.
Okay. So yeah, no, I had to be convinced really. And so what's interesting, what gives the picture more merit, because I had to be convinced, was the fact, in a sense, listening to everyone else. And how can I put that? Yeah, I mean, I suppose everyone else convinced me. I can't explain it more. I'm trying to say like what maybe held me back. I guess maybe because it didn't look real to me at first, and it's beautiful and graphic and colorful, but I didn't get the right response, and basically the rest of the team just convinced me. And my arm was broken from all that.
And we do have a couple of questions. Randall Hobbit asked if the images were judged initially blindly, one by one, or did they take it photographer by photographer? Largely speaking, they had no idea who the photographer was unless they knew the image and could associate that with the photographer, which, in some cases that was the case, because Jackie was in some of the pictures, and I think Lloyd was on stage for some of the pictures. And then the identity of each dancer when initially judged, again, not unless they recognized them, and in most cases they didn't. In some cases they did, of course, but we did a great job, I think, of not letting that come into play. Let's just take a quick look at the number 2 picture here and this is by Drew Forsyth of Manchester, England. This is Bethany. She's a dancer with the Scottish Ballet. And it's a composite image that he put together.
I voted for it. This was one of my number ones, and now I realize I know him. I didn't know that at the time.
How do you know Drew, Lois?
Am I correct? Oh, they're not speaking. If I'm correct, we did a workshop together.
Okay, I think that might be correct, yes.
But I won't swear to anything after all these years of workshop. Maybe I met him someplace else or whatever. But yeah, I was just thrilled by it.
And let's bounce over to number 3. I know you guys love this picture.
Yeah, I love this one. This to me had a similar quality as our winner. It was kind of unexpected, and it stood out for me. You know, I think when I teach, I came up with a little sort of motto or slogan: "When in doubt, take it out," and that sort of applies to props and hats and chairs and stools. And you know, I sort of grappled with, am I overwhelmed by the piece of furniture? And I thought, no, you know, it's a stylish piece of furniture. The pose is really great. I love the expression. I love the lighting. To me, it ended up feeling very, very modern. It really stood out. I thought it was extremely strong, sophisticated and modern. Because the other thing that I was sort of looking for is, you know, to Lois's point, and I think Lois and I see similarly in some ways, but it's just what felt also like now, like today. What's going on with dance and photography today versus perhaps you know, something that doesn't look as modern. And so I think we gravitated towards that top picture because it felt very modern. I think this is one of those images too.
It actually reminds you of the magazine work from, you know, 20 years ago with David Bailey or Avedon or someone like that. It had that kind of lighting and position and clarity. And it stood out. It was unique among all the thousands or millions of pictures that we looked at. And I think that drew us all to it as well. It was completely different.
I'm sorry. I also love this this photo, and sometimes I wonder why people choose to do black and white, if it's just because they think it's going to make it look better or not. Like, this one just made sense with black and white. It doesn't make me yearn to see it in color. And I mean, there are no shadows, but the use of like the contrast of the darkness to the light just was like beautiful. It's very striking. I mean, the dancer looks great in everything, but the photo itself is simple and very beautiful and very like, wow, when you first see it. And then you go into details and you're still like, wow. Yeah.
Okay, well, this is by Ziggy Mac in South Haven, Mississippi, I think. So we're gonna move over and just take a quick look at performance images now. And you guys, you're in for a little bit of a surprise here, but if you look at this image and then you look at this image, it was actually the first place and second place winner in performance was both by the same photographer, Anna Sneed in Austin, Texas.
Nice.
The top just has so much energy and so much emotion, and you know, it's not stiff. It's not the typical shot. It's a different angle, and I think photographers are always looking at, you know, judging things also by the angle at which something is shot. It's not the thing itself, but the position you have and the point of view. And so between the moment and the point of view and the fabulous dancer, and it being black and white for a change too, I mean, I think it was, you know, just, you know, a total winner from, I think we all agreed, right? Or maybe not, I don't know.
This was a quick one.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a perfect example. It's a performance shot, and it's a perfect example of performance. The emotion from her, you even get a glimpse of the stage lights in the house. It's just, I love it.
And it's unusual. It's not the behind the scenes from the wings kind of shot, which is kind of repeated a lot.
That's so right. How unusual it is with the angle was very captivating. And I always look for a dance photograph to make sure that I can see the dancer's face, unless it's an intentional not to see their face. But if it's like, oh, you kind of almost see it, it's like, I kind of give it a demerit, as Andrew would say. But the fact that you could see her full face and see her emotion and her expression in her face and her body from that angle. It's kind of like what I would see on stage as a dancer, and not many people get to see it from that angle. So I thought that was really like beautifully captured. Because I would be like in the wing and see this, and it's a certain beauty to this angle, but you usually see performance shots just straight on. So I really love this for that, how different it was.
True. And yeah, there's also a great use of negative space, actually in both the first and the second image. Yeah, and what I like about the negative space, actually in the second image, was that, like this one over here, is that it's kind of mysterious. You're like, your position, you're like looking from backstage, but then you can't see the audience at all. She's focused at the audience. You're kind of like, she's gazing into this abyss. So it draws you in. It's kind of curious. So that's what I liked about this image. And yeah, on the previous image, great use of negative space, and also, of course, the genuine emotion, the honest smile. It wasn't like, you could tell that there was like, it felt like true happiness. And that's kind of, I think, why we all gravitated to that.
Also, it looks like we're in the wings because of the black panel, taking up, which is a great touch, because otherwise it's just is what it is. But this has now set the viewer in contradistinction to the subject, whereas usually it's together.
True. Yeah, different angle. That's what you're mentioning, right? Like the where we're seeing it from.
Yeah, you're seeing this from the wings.
Yeah. And
I don't know what the wings are, so I'm wild card. Wild card.
Okay, let's move on to the number 3 image in performance.
See, this is what I think of when you say the wings. I see wings here now.
Any comments on this one before we move on to the next one?
I don't really 100% get it. It's democracy we live in, thank God, though.
Okay, we're gonna
like this one. I really like this one. I like that she was central. Whatever the piece is, I'm into it. I see community. I like, again, the angle from the wings. And I know that's not possible for every shot, but how they use their opportunity in the wings to capture this moment, I really enjoyed. It moves. Like, I know it's either coming from something or going into something else. I really like this one.
Okay, we're going to move over to the next category then and go to On Location. And this is Martha Worth from Aurora, Colorado.
I'll jump in on this one. This is another one that I loved when I was sitting here in my office alone looking at them. There was a couple of things that made me wonder whether it would be my number 1 favorite. But it hung around, and through my personal judging and then our discussions, and it kind of got knocked down a little bit, and then it got knocked back up. And I mean, I'm personally thrilled that it was our winner, because I thought that it was, to sort of something that Lois was talking about earlier, just not expression of face, but just sort of the expression, the sort of visceral emotional feeling and its uniqueness and the light and the colors. For me, this really felt uniquely strong. I think there were a number of strong pictures in this category, but this one to me really did feel like it deserved where it landed.
I think actually it started out, maybe we ranked it on our own, like maybe at like 4th or 5th. If I remember correctly, I think we were slowly bumping this up, and then we're like, okay, let's leave it in 1st for now and see if anything else outranks it. And then it just kept on staying in 1st. So we're like, nope, we love this one. We're gonna stick with it. That's how my memory remembers it. But yeah, just the color, like that burst of red. It's not too bright. It's not too subtle. The color and the light. and the expression, all of it. It's beautiful.
And you can put your own drama, your own narrative on it.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those palimpsest type things where, you know,
Mhm.
we could, if we each had to describe it, we'd probably come out with different descriptions.
True.
Okay, we're going to move to the second one.
There were many discussions about
Yes,
this
there
one.
were.
I love it.
It's
I love it too.
beautiful.
I love it.
But I know I loved it because of the color and obviously the beautiful alien women and the architecture of their bodies, but also of where they are as well. I thought it brought a lot of layers to that photo.
I thought it was a little stiff. I wasn't 100% on board.
But these are Greek statues, so they're supposed to be stiff.
Yeah.
No,
They look like people to me. I didn't realize they were statues.
Wow.
Goddesses.
Goddesses, yeah. I sometimes I love color, and sometimes like too much saturation, too much of a bright color is like, okay, no, it's disqualified. But somehow this one worked. It was just like, okay, it's bright, but it works. It just like, it invites me in. It makes me feel good. Like, it's like, okay, cool. I don't need coffee today. Just check out this like bright, colorful photo. It's like, okay, cool. Wakes me up.
When I came across this one, I was like, okay, take myself out of it. I already love the photo. I'm in it. I'm a part of it. But when I saw it, I told the panel, I judge photos that have multiple people a little differently from photos that have a single dancer, because it's much harder to capture a beautiful moment from everybody in a photo. And I think this was like beautifully executed. I love the symmetry of it. I love the individuality of each dancer in it. Each dancer would be happy to see themselves in this. It's not like, oh, but that one person, it's like everyone looks great. The colors are popping, the depth, positioning. I think it's fabulous. Even to the flag being waving in the sky and the clouds, like, yeah. The fact that you can see that much of the sky, I really like this photo.
Okay, let's move to the third one. This is Randall Hobbit here.
I don't think we had such as strong opinions on this one. We thought this was a good photo. It deserved to be in third place, but I don't think anybody was like passionate about this one. I just think it's like kind of very cool composition, good lighting. I thought, okay, yeah, this deserves to be where it is.
I was, I think, a little more passionate than everyone else was.
Okay.
Or at least,
Yes.
I mean, I think we all liked it, but I thought it had a lot of motion, and I liked all the different, besides the lighting, the different angles. And so it worked together as, it was both the dancer dancing and the place and the setting. I don't know. I don't have any big theory about it, but
I'm convinced, and this is what actually happened during the judge panel. It's like somebody would make a point, and I'm like, you know what, you're right. And this was happening the whole time as we were discussing. I was like, oh, I didn't see it this way. Oh, I didn't think of that. So just a
and
little
there's
insight.
something perfect about it. I mean, there's not one thing that's not 100% perfect. You know what I mean? There's nothing like, oh, I wish they had moved this way. I wish this, or I wish that. It's just a perfect composition.
I'm going to move over and just show this one as well. This is Jonathan Givens.
This one, I think we had a little bit of a debate about. Not totally sure. I remember it might have been Lloyd was mentioning how small the dancer was. Lloyd, was that you? I'm so sorry.
I think so. Yeah, I don't know why that really got to me. I was like, why is she so tiny and far away? But once you guys actually explained more about the photo, it made me enjoy it a lot more, because at first I was just focusing a lot of my energy on her and not really taking in the whole atmosphere of what's happening.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, somebody just put in the chat, love the setting, and I love the setting. And this category is location photography, with dance. And I think that You know, there's times where this formula I think works really well, and I think you know, your primary subject can be quite small. I think it's really successful. It's a very, very beautiful place. Color palette, everything about it. I think it's deserving of where it landed for sure.
I really loved that she was that small.
Right.
It immediately when I saw it, it was like, oh my God, this is a beautiful photo and there's a dancer. It kind of made me, yeah, she stands out. It made me think like, oh, she's out here on her own, which was what 2020 was giving like everyone. So like it had emotion in that, and I just connected to, sorry, it's New York City. But no, I loved it. Like, she's small, but her position is big enough to see, like that she's in a second position on Forced Arch, like, and her reflection with the reflection of nature. I thought this was just gorgeous. I thought it was breathtaking with all the breath that's out there.
Okay, we're gonna move on over then to our studio portraits category and open up with this beautiful picture.
Oh yeah. Andrew convinced us how.
You know what? I'll jump in just because
So good.
I pushed really hard for this one. I mean, I thought if there's going to be one image in this whole competition that I'm going to go to the mat for, it's going to be this one. And you know, there were two. Full transparency, there were two images in the whole competition that I did screenshots and I left them on my desktop, on my computer, because I love them that much. And it was that first one in the fine art category with the hat, and it was this one. This to me is everything about it. It's the lighting, the wind, the pose, the slight silhouette of the face, the fabric, everything, you know. And you know, in fairness, folks, I think I was pretty gentle about my nudging and pushing, and I kept coming back to it. And I was saying, this is why, this is why, this is why. I think it's, for me, I think it's as close to a perfect photo as ended up in this competition, for me.
I agree.
I'm always
I
fond
agree.
of invisible forces animating and motivating, you know, what's going on in the picture. And this is like this. She's in some kind of, obviously she's in a studio, but there's this windy look to it and she's leaning forward. I don't know exactly the right way, you know, on her toes. And so it's an off balance being pushed forward by some invisible wind force and staying, you know, not, I don't know what the word is. That's what I'm trying to say. They're like multiple forces interacting with each other.
Well, this is by Randall Hobbit, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's just beautiful.
And it's interesting. What happened with this image for me was that I ranked it highly, but I also kind of didn't notice it. And then once Andrew brought it up as his favorite, I was like, whoa, yeah, this is great. Like, why did this go like under the radar and not be like my first image? Because it ended up being my favorite image of the whole competition as well. Yeah, and so it's interesting how a photo can do that, like kind of be under the radar as like a second or a third place or whatever. And then the more you pay attention to it, you're like, oh, wow, this is beautiful. And how did I not see that?
It's so true. It's like the quality, because you can see something and be like, oh my God, that's amazing. And then when you really look, it's like, oh, this was kind of off, or that was, but this was so subtle and so imperfectly perfect. Like how she's off balance, but on balance, and how her feet aren't perfectly profiled, because you can see both, but I wanted to see both, and I wanted to see both hands, and I wanted to be able to see her face, but she is profiled, so perfectly profiled, you wouldn't be able to see both of those, but you can. And how even the fabric within the studio, because it's a studio category, to get the wind of this fabric against her body with this amazing contraction that she's in. I thought this was just gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who wants to jump in on this one?
I see what you did there. Jump in.
That's funny.
The lighting's really strong, the whole position, the angle, you know, from a photographic point of view rather than, you know, literally from the dance point of view, which is also incredible. And the expression, which I'm always, you know, a nut for. I don't know if it was certainly on one of my top ones. I don't know if I was you know, I'm not sure where I ranked it with the others. There were just so many good ones, but it's, the more you look at it, I think I feel that I'm flying with him, you know, so I'm more like in the picture with him as opposed to looking at something in front of me and I'm the viewer. I'm not the viewer, I'm flying with him.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Oh, I should have let you.
No, it's okay. It's all right.
It just came to my head.
It's good. Let it come out. It's okay. No, but I do get the same feeling from it. I saw this photo before the competition even started. And I always enjoyed it just because it has so much feeling to it and it's not a static pose. So
this is by Jacqueline Medlock.
Yeah.
And
Right, Jack. Wait, I wanted to say one thing about the last photo.
Okay, go ahead.
I ranked this pretty high because I haven't really seen many images like this. I mean, the color you can go in, but like this is a jump photo, and it doesn't just give you this look like it's caught. The photographer was trying to catch it as he went up, but he was also moving forward in a sense, so it looks like he literally is flying, which is kind of different from somebody just jumping up and then catching the photo and landing. It does look very effortless, like there is a forward motion, there is an emotion to it. You can see his face very well lit, and the fact that even the back of him is dark, it's like he's flying into the light. It's really beautiful. This is like poetry, this photo.
Okay. And then this is Kristen Sawatsky.
This star, yes.
Yeah.
Lloyd loves this photo. This is everything.
I love it so much. I don't know. I mean, it's her pose is just so, I've never seen anybody get into that pose. So that alone was just like shocking to me. But I mean, also, obviously, it's a studio shot, and the use of color and her expression and her hair flying, and I just thought it was like a near perfect shot.
I was right there with you, Lloyd. I was fighting for this one because this was one of those. It's funny how some images we're like, okay, we all agree this is good, and other images were like, no, like some of us were just like, yeah, this one's like, this is great. Put it up higher, and then some were like, no, put it down lower, rank it higher, rank it lower. But yeah, I love this image, the expression with the face, the expression with the body, and how do you get there, and like the color choice I think was really great. Yeah, just like the composition of the whole thing. I really enjoyed it, but I know not all of us did.
I think this is an example of when it all goes right.
Yeah, no, I think so, and I mean, I'll jump in on this one too, because in this category there was a lot of bodies flying around in studios, right? Like, you know, and so within that, well, what separates an image that ends up being stronger or more powerful than another one, right? And you know, this sort of had this combination of very clever cut moment. You know, a lot of studio jumps. There can be a literal nanosecond between sort of a peak moment and not. Lois, who I view as legendary, is remarkable at capturing between moments that still feel peak to me in their energy and composition. They're not necessarily the classic apex of a jump, but they still have some sort of, you know, really well-resolved, composed energy about them. This, to me, the sort of energy and the height and, because the legs are really tight, and then the casual lean and the super intense expression on her face is just these opposing kind of things that all fell into a really, really strong, complete picture. So I don't know. I'm a big believer in this one. Well done.
Was this the category that was really hard for us? Because I feel like we spent a lot of time
I
on
think
one because there were
so.
so
Yes.
many great photos.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so let's jump over to the grand prize winners, and we'll start with the grand prize winner, which is Ziggy Mac. Let's see, so that's going to be right there. And we'll just kind of, this is his other image, and I'll just kind of bounce through here really quick so we can kind of see these images, and you can talk about his body of work. I'll come back so you can kind of like see all his pictures here.
Thanks for the comments in the chat. Thank you, Kristen. We're glad to give our feedback. Who else was, who said this? Just really enjoying all of your comments and soaking it in. Somebody else said that. Martha. Yeah, thanks everybody.
I think
Okay.
what
So why did this one win, guys?
I think for me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we were also very impressed at his body of work, at how diverse it was. So none of them are the same, and that really impressed me a lot.
Yeah, this one kind of had like a lot of personality in the photos for me. A lot of like action, color, and Jackie pointed out that you'd want to be photographed by this photographer. I believe that's what you said. And I think that's also very important feedback. Yeah, there was a sense of fun. They were done professionally, and it felt cohesive as well, and creative. So yeah, that's why I ranked it highly.
Just like what Lloyd and Max said, it's the diversity for me. Like, I would want to work with this photographer, and I see the vision and the creativity, and it looks like fun. I love the colors. I love the choices. This was a really strong body of work.
Obviously someone very experimental too, that wasn't, locked into a specific look. I don't know what the outtakes were, so to speak, but it's obviously a very wide-ranging creative mind that's, probably saw, I don't know, I wouldn't even prognosticate on how these things happen, but I agree with everyone. And it's unusual, I think, to find really, I mean, if I saw those pictures without knowing that the aggregate was this person whose name I forgot already.
Ziggy Mac.
Zig Mac, congratulations on this. I would never know it's the same photographer if you would ask me to guess. I don't know if everyone else does that. It was, well, this is just not the same photographer. So that's fascinating in and of itself, that someone could have so many different styles and execute each picture so well and diversely. That's an unusual mind. I don't know if I've ever seen that before.
Yeah, I'll springboard off of that, because I think there's two ways that a body of work can be strong and successful. And one, to Lois's point, the collection of pictures we're seeing here, and I don't know, Ron, whether you can scroll down and show some of the others as well, but there's a really broad variety of things here, to the point where one might not almost recognize it as all being one photographer. But I think that the sort of the variations that Ziggy has in his toolbox is pretty impressive. So I think that this is a really strong body of work because of the various different kinds of images. I think we'll see in some of the other people that placed high there's a consistency in their bodies of work. And that is, obviously a strong point, is especially in terms of somebody hiring a photographer, they want to know what they're getting, and so there's strengths to both things. But I think we went back and forth, but we just saw a lot of pictures that kept coming back in each category from this photographer, and that ended up helping it push to the top.
And I think I want to comment a little bit more also on that, what Lois mentioned, how looking at these photos individually, you might not connect them all as the same photographer. And I agree with that technically, how a lot of the technical aspects seem different, but something in, I don't know, the je ne sais quoi, the personality of it, or like the flavor of it or whatever, it just feels like somehow you can get kind of like a similar feeling from the same photographer. And even though a lot of these are technically very different, I get kind of a similar feeling. And it's hard to put to words, but I feel like there is some sort of connection, even though it's not translated because there's so many different technical things going on with each photograph. That makes sense.
Well, the legs seem to be in both. I'm only looking at what I see on the screen now, but everything features a leg in some.
True.
You know.
This is a leg photographer. We just came up with a new category.
I see symmetry with lines. Like everything has like everything has like either the background or the dancer has like a line that is playing with the environment, which is like consistent.
David in the chat said the best photo, I guess, for him is the lady in the concrete box. And I love that photo as well, because it's all the other photos you see these beautiful dancers and the bodies and the faces, blah, blah, blah. But all you see is these 2 hands and 2 feet coming out and the shadows that they create. And I just keep staring at it. I just think it's so fascinating.
That's the picture in the phone.
No,
the black and white.
It's this picture here.
Oh, I was thinking of the picture in the phone. I thought that's interesting because you're taking a picture of a picture.
Right.
Yeah, but he's definitely with the arms and legs. The one that seems like doesn't belong in the set is the one below this one. No, you have to go up again on
the other black and white.
Yeah, this black and white, which I guess it's because it's kind of I'm not going to say it's very light. There's no like modulation of tones at all. It almost, I'm sure it's on purpose because this person obviously knows what they're doing, but it didn't seem to fit. It seemed a little random. And again, the edges, the coloration, like I don't know. Does anyone agree?
I agree.
It seems the least dramatic out of the set of photos.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye. No, it's true.
Kind of like I want to see the whole structure.
Yeah, and then when I say dramatic, not her expression, but I guess the use of composition of the whole thing. I don't think I'm making sense, but
no, I know what you mean. Like as a photograph, it's a little bit busy with all the parking lot. There is that kind of there's the body in the foreground, the body in the background, and the body in the background kind of gets lost. If there was more separation, might be more successful. So I would say that, this is kind of the weakest link. And that actually brings us to another good point that we shouldn't forget to bring up today was how many photographs were included in somebody's submission as into the grand prize category. Because maybe, I'm not sure if you have that plan to talk about, Ron, but some of them were just massive amounts of photographs and we could talk about that and have a conversation if we want to, because sometimes it wasn't always consistent in our eyes.
Right.
Sometimes
So I think what we'll do next year is people can submit as many pictures as they want, but we're going to limit the grand prize category to 10.
Okay.
To really help them out and be sure that, they're not weakening their spot by having too many pictures that aren't at the highest level, I guess, should we say.
Yeah, but I think that was also just very important for the photographers to know their best work and share only their best. Because if they're sharing like some really great images and then all of a sudden they put in some that really didn't make sense with the rest,
Right.
we rank that down. So I just want to share that
Right.
feedback.
I think that's a good point. That's the demerit thing. I remember the very first agent I ever went to go meet with in New York when I was really young and I was just starting out. He was looking through my portfolio and he took one picture and he pulled it out of the portfolio and he threw it across the room. And he said, "You're as good as your weak." He said, "You're as good as your worst picture." And I remember being horrified because I kind of really liked that picture that he had thrown across the room. But it was my first lesson in how important, you know, inclusion or exclusion is when it comes to an image in a body of work. Because, you know, if we saw a body of work that was essentially good, but there was a couple of pictures that felt weak, that would pull that body of work down in the rankings. And that, you know, is a fairly subjective point of view, but one has to be really careful. And as photographers, we get married to certain images we think are great. Listen to your peers, listen to other folks. And if somebody says, if a couple of people say that one is weak, we're not that crazy about that one, you know, consider maybe removing it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
No, go ahead, Max.
I believe I modified that quote. You know, the original is "You're only as good as your worst photo," and I've modified it to "You're only as good as your worst photo that you share."
All right, so now we're going to move to the second place grand prize winner, and I think we'll take a look at one more after this, and then call it a day. So if anybody has any questions, you should be putting them in there.
This one got to second? I don't remember that.
This is Ed Flores from Tucson, Arizona.
This one went on a journey. This one went up and down and all around.
I love that one.
Ed, I fought like all get out for this.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you
I've
did.
pushed and pushed and pushed my colleagues, and I fought and I argued. No, I didn't. We did it all, I think, calmly and quietly. But I did want to share that although there were not that many pictures, I felt that they were all very strong. They were all very consistent. They were all very classy and sophisticated. And I felt very strongly about this body of work as a consistent body of work. Now, I would have loved to have seen more, but the fact that there wasn't a picture in here that I was kind of like, ooh, that one's really weak, I don't think this body of work should score high, it was quite the opposite. And, you know, I felt very committed to seeing this one do well.
I have a problem with the upper left picture, the duet, that it just needs a little more chiaroscuro on it, that the white kind of fades away, and I would have liked to see just more depth in the tonality of the two bodies. That would be my only, yeah.
Okay, we're going to take a look at number 3. And this one's a little bit different. This is Nir Ariely from Brooklyn. And obviously many of his pictures were in the fine art category. And so those are his.
I love them. I think they're so mystifying. They're so unusual, etc.
Really mysterious. I love them as well. I agree.
Yeah, just beautiful, unique, painterly, magnificent, super sophisticated body of work. Just tremendous photography at any level.
I also like this body of work. The one thing that held me back from rating it higher was I didn't know the skill level of the photographer in the moment with the dancer based on what the dancers are doing. Like how difficult it would be to capture a certain jump or position because it feels very quiet, like the dancer didn't need to move too much to capture these beautiful images. So it made me wonder the skill level of them being able to capture something moving, something, yeah. But I love this body of work. Yeah.
It's original.
I wanted to see more, I guess.
I love the second one with the guy painted in gold. It's very mysterious to me.
Okay. Well, I think, that's going to do it, for this this competition. And I really appreciate you guys for everything that you guys have done, from the very beginning of taking on this jury responsibility and the passion you put into it. You guys were simply amazing. It was, like you guys have given, the attendees some kind of idea as to how the discussion went, during that 5.5-hour phone call or Zoom call where we battled, shall we say, for our pictures. But it was even more of a battle sometimes with you guys than you were letting on, which I loved. It was, you guys were very passionate about what you did and what you saw, and the ones that you believed in, and that was really amazing. So
our images are small. Let's stop the screen share. I want to see everybody's faces again. That's okay.
I'm
I
gonna
don't want to be bossy. I'm being bossy again.
Hang on.
But yeah, this was so much fun. This was such a great team and such a great experience. And yeah, I learned a lot, and it was fun and creative and interesting. Just grateful to be part of it.
What final comments from everybody besides Max, who just gave his?
Oh yeah, I just did that.
It was it was a great experience. I mean, it was nerve-wracking to try and go against like Lois. Yeah.
What? Was I giving everyone a hard time?
And no, but it's like you like this photo, and then I'm like, well, I don't, because of blah blah blah. That's really
you liked it, and isn't it?
Yeah, and that was the beautiful
democracy.
That was the beautiful thing about this experience, is that we each brought in our opinions and what we enjoyed. So, but it was really great. I would be down to do this again. Totally, it was beautiful. It was great.
I learned so much from all of you. Seriously, especially you and Jacqueline, because I didn't look at all those little dance details, little position details.
I think it was a great process. Funny enough, having been on other panels before, it's interesting how by the time you hit hour 3 or 4, people get a little a little more passionate about their choices. It starts very diplomatic and civilized. And it's kind of like, no, I love that one. Move that one up. And it never really got contentious. But people were, I think this jury was a perfect combination of people that were committed to things that they liked, but willing and open to listening to everybody else's opinions. And I think I echo what Lois said. I learned a lot from everybody and was very, very grateful. The one thing I will say is I better look out, because there's some pretty terrific dance photographers out there, and I better keep up with my craft so that I stay competitive, because there's some really, really wonderful work.
Okay.
I feel like, I'm sorry.
No.
I feel like I came in with what I knew, but I was also open to learning from you fabulous people. And my eyes were definitely open to understanding more about dance photography. Because as a dancer, I see what I like, and I can see a dancer in photographs and be like, oh, I like that photograph. But the other elements that just make it like, that extra piece of something, like hearing you guys explain why, for me was like, oh my gosh, okay, yes, I completely understand this. And this is why. Maybe I loved it, but didn't know how to express it, and you were able to articulate, and I think we learned from each other. At a certain point, I could tell if we got to a photo, I was like, oh, Lois will love this photo. Like we learned each other so much, you know. But it was like reasoning behind each of the photos, and they were such great photos. So like, congrats everyone. I'm so excited for like even this discussion, how I talk a lot with my hands, oh my goodness. Even this discussion, how hearing us will hopefully like help you see what we've learned, and it will help you as well as photographers. I think this is a great idea. Thank you so much.
But
Ron.
everyone should follow their own lead on this. I mean, maybe they've learned some things from talking, just the way we learn from talking to each other, but they shouldn't be guided by this or restricted by this or feel that this is the way to do something. You know, they should all go in their own directions. And, you know, yeah, I mean, it takes a while. I mean, it's usually like they say accidents make the best photographers, you know. I mean, you have an accident and all of a sudden you build on it. It could be true of the choreographers or whatever. And so they should follow their own, you know, you keep going with it and you stumble and you fall and you pick yourself up and all of a sudden it's usually an accident. I don't know, Andrew, if you agree that, you know, launches a whole new vision. And
Sure.
so they should keep going and not really worry about who won and who didn't win. And next year they're going to do the same picture that the second one, you know, like that would be counterproductive, right?
To your own self be true, but also listen to people.
Listen to the right people, not the wrong people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Max, any final words?
Oh, just 2 words. Yeah, thank you. This was great.
I'm
This
sorry,
was just amazing.
I'm sorry I
It's
never
very-
got to shoot Jacqueline or
Lloyd?
Lloyd. Yeah, I didn't see your picture then. Where's Lloyd?
we have time.
Oh, we have
That's
time.
true.
Yes.
Mhm,
Yes.
mhm. Oh yes.
Okay.
It's only March, yeah.
Well, you all are in New York, so. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you,
and
Ron.
really
Thank you
Thank
for
you, Ron.
doing this. Thanks,
Thank you,
Max.
Ron.
You're so
Yeah.
welcome.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll see you guys all later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye everyone.
Bye, everyone.